So here I am back up in the railway loft and going to start working on some stuff. Initially I'm going to attack the cricket ground that we had the disaster with not too long ago. Welcome back to Worthington Model Railway. Kind of an interesting day. I'm up in the railway loft, as you can see from the scene behind me. Unfortunately, my wife woke up this morning not feeling well, and she tested positive for COVID. So I went and tested myself, and I tested positive too. But having had it in the past and being fully vaccinated, I don't seem to have too much in the way of symptoms. But so anyway, it means I'm going to have to sort of isolate for a few days. So good excuse to get some stuff done up here. One thing, some of you might have seen what was going on up here if you caught my little cameo on Crossways Point Junction channel. I'd like to thank Bernie for allowing me to jump into his live stream the other day. That was fun and interesting, and I think the people that were on it enjoyed looking at my layout. I'll put a link to that recording of that live stream above, so you'll be able to go look at it. It's about 2.5 hours long, and I think about an hour and a half in is where you'll find me. So what am I going to attack first? You remember that video from a few weeks ago where I started on the cricket ground and we had a total disaster? So that's what I'm about to start to do. So for the cricket ground, having used up quite a bit of static grass that I ended up basically chucking, I went to the model shop and I bought some 2mm static grass. I got two different colors here. I've got a dark green and a medium green, and then I bought this this knock, which is actually quite expensive. But it's a 1.5mm, and as you can see, it's sort of different green colors, so I can use that for the wicket. I also got a hedge that I can use, and we'll put that somewhere on there as we start to work through it. And I bought another big bag of clump foliage, which I will also use some of. I need some more of that. So first thing I have to do is get this prepared and painted. So let's have a look and see what we need to do for that. If you remember from the abortive attempt in that last video, I ended up just turning these boards over as I couldn't really scrape everything off them. And so the first thing I need to do now is I need to tape up the gaps and cover up the screw heads and things that are here. So I'm going to get some tape to do that. So that'll be my first job here. And then I'm just going to put a greeny brown paint over the whole thing once I've done that. So I picked up a roll of green masking tape. Thought I'd try that. Maybe it will cover more easily. So I'm going to clamber up here and put this masking tape in place. There you can see, just put some masking tape on there, and that is nicely covered up all the gaps. I'm of the opinion that I tend to put the back scene on after I've done all this landscaping. Those boards will just unscrew. I can put the back scene on, then put it back on. That way, if I put the back scene on first and I splash stuff around like paint and static grass and stuff, it can make a mess. But by doing it afterwards, it's the way I prefer to do it. So now what I'm going to do is just put some brown and green paint. I'll mix them up and we'll paint that whole area and let the paint dry, and then we can get to static grassing. So I got some green poster paint here, but this green is just too green, so we'll add some brown to it And we'll mix it all up, and so there we are with the sort of greeny brown paint. And the next thing I'm going to do is going to just put just a very light layer of scatter across that paint. I like to sort of do that before I put the static grass down. And the scatter will just dry with the paint. It's only going to be a very, very light layer. So this is the scatter I'm going to use, blended turf earth blend from Woodland Scenics. We'll just put a little of this down. Okay, so now we need to just leave everything to dry, and let me zoom in a little bit here so you can see that layer of scatter on there. See, just a fine layer, but it'll help when I put the static grass on top, which will be the next job to do. I'm going to let this dry overnight. You can see this, but this is my cricket pitch size that I've downloaded from the internet, and then I kind of worked out based upon 4mm to the foot what I need here. So that's 66 feet long, 264 millimeters long, and probably about 40 wide. So overall, if I take this ruler is it's going to be 30 millimeters, and if I do a couple of widths of the ruler, that's going to be the size that I want to use for the wicket. So working the principle, I'm going to put the wicket somewhere close to being in the middle of the pitch. We'll start with that. So I'm going to mark that out, and then we'll start off by putting that very fine static grass that we looked at earlier into that area where the wicket's going to be. So let me get that done first. So having marked out this area where I want the wicket to be, I'm just putting some white glue into this area, and then we'll put that static grass, just a short static grass on this white glue. So here's the short static grass that I showed you earlier. Now I'm not going to put this on with an applicator. I am going to go over it with the applicator to get it to stand up, but I want to be really accurate. I'm just going to sprinkle this on with my fingers. And I need it to be pretty fine too. I don't get too much there. And there you can see the very fine grass that's been applied. As I say, I'll let that dry, and then I'll just run over it just with the static gun, just to sort of bring it up a little bit. But I don't want it up too high. I want it to look like a cricket wicket. So I'm going to work from the back forward, and I'm going to start off with some of these Jarvis dry stone walls, and the dry stone wall is going to go along the back of the cricket ground. So let me get those in place. So here we have the dry stone wall in place. As you can see, there's a couple of places there I need to just tidy it up a little bit. But as I say, those slight gaps, we can just put a little bush in front of it. So an area like that right there, we won't see it when we're done. I decided the green of this wicket is a little bit too kind of lime green. So I'm just throwing on just a tiny bit of a dark green grass on here. Again, it's also very fine, so that's what I'm using. Just tone it down just a little bit so it's not quite as lime green in your face as it seemed to be before. So I'm thinking the perimeter needs some longer grass, and I have this grass sheet that I got, and so I think I'm going to put some of this grass sheet just around the front of the wall where there might be some little bit longer grass before I put the rest of the static grass in place. The way that this works is it's a sheet, a bit of backing on the back so you can cut it. So I'm going to cut some strips out of the sheet, just put a very small strip of longer grass in front of the so here I have a strip. Just stick a little bit of white glue on the back of this strip, and just run it up against the wall. I'll get on and do that all the way around. So again, working back to front, I have some trees here that I prepared. You've seen my videos on making trees before. I'm not going to go through that. So I'm going to put some holes in the boards to put the trees in, and start in the corner here with a bigger one. And I need my mini vac to clean that up. 1 second. And I'm going to put a piece of this longer grass underneath the tree. So we'll put a piece of the longer grass sort of in the corner there like that. And then we can put need to find out exactly where I'm going to put the hole for the tree. So let me do that. There's the first tree in place, and we'll put a couple more down here. So there we have our trees in place. Zoom out. Adds a little bit of interest to the back of the. Okay, now I need to put static grass across the whole of the outfield here, and I'm going to wait and do that tomorrow. So we will add that piece. Of course, it's pretty boring, but I just want to make sure it's all dry before I start to add static grass. And then I got to put a road in over there, so we'll do that and get those houses on the building site there better situated. So in the interests of not making this video too long, and I think that's probably a reasonable stopping place for part 1, we'll wind this video up, and I will do a part 2 as I add the static grass and all the other components of the cricket ground, including the new pavilion that I'm going to build. So we will leave this video at that point, and hopefully within the next few days I will post a second video showing the completion of the cricket ground. As always, thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe button to the top right and another video to the top left.